Hi everyone, this is Marilyn Hickey. Now, before we get into this, I want you to realize something important. I'm not really Marilyn Hickey. I am an AI creation of Marilyn Hickey. So I want you to keep that in mind. Today, I want to take you into one of the most powerful stories in the scripture, the book of Esther. This is a story about courage, favor, and divine reversal. And here we see that God is at work even when his name is not explicitly mentioned, because the name of God is not mentioned one time in the book of Esther. King Ahasuerus ruled a vast empire. King Ahasuerus was powerful, influential, and surrounded by advisors. His decisions shaped nations. When Queen Vashti refused to appear before King Ahasuerus, the royal court responded with urgency. The queen was removed and a search began for a new queen. And here we see how political shifts can create spiritual opportunity. Esther, a young Jewish woman raised by Mordecai, was brought into the king's selection process. She found favor not only because of her beauty, but because of divine positioning. King Ahasuerus noticed her grace and chose her to be queen. And here we see that favor can elevate someone from obscurity into influence. Meanwhile, Mordecai uncovered a plot to harm King Ahasuerus. He reported the conspiracy, saving the king's life. Yet at first no reward was given. The record was noted, but recognition was delayed. And here we see that God remembers even when people forget. A man named Haman rose to power in the court of King Ahasuerus. Haman demanded honor and demanded that people bow to him. Mordecai refused to bow, choosing allegiance to God over prideful display. Haman's anger turned into a plan of destruction. He manipulated King Ahasuerus into issuing a decree that would eliminate the Jewish people throughout the empire. Say yuck 3 times. Yuck, yuck, yuck. And here we see how unchecked pride can influence authority and create danger for many. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he fasted and mourned. He urged Esther to approach King Ahasuerus and plead for her people. But approaching the king without being summoned could mean death. Esther responded with faith. She called for fasting and prayer before she stepped into the throne room of King Ahasuerus. And here we see preparation before confrontation. When Esther approached, the king extended the golden scepter. Favor again. The king listened to her request and agreed to attend banquet she prepared, where the truth would be revealed. Meanwhile, Haman constructed gallows meant for Mordecai. His pride convinced him that victory was certain. He believed he controlled the outcome. But that very night, King Ahasuerus could not sleep. And here we see divine intervention through what appears to be simple restlessness. The king ordered the royal chronicles to be read and discovered that Mordecai had never been honored for saving his life. At that moment, Haman entered the court expecting permission to execute Mordecai. King Ahasuerus asked Haman what would be done for a man who desired to the king to a man the king desired to honor. Haman, assuming the honor was for himself, described royal celebration. Instead, the king commanded Haman to honor Mordecai publicly, and here we see a reversal beginning. Later at Esther's banquet, she revealed Haman's plot. King Ahasuerus responded in anger, and when the conspiracy against the queen and her people was exposed, the very gallows that Haman built for Mordecai were used on Haman himself. The instrument intended for destruction became the instrument of judgment. And here we see that schemes formed in secret can collapse under divine justice. Although the original decree could not be revoked under the law of the empire, King Ahasuerus allowed a new decree granting the Jewish people the right to defend themselves. What was meant for annihilation became victory. What was meant for mourning became celebration. That deliverance is remembered today throughout the peace of Purim. Esther stood before King Ahasuerus with courage. Mordecai refused compromise. God orchestrated time behind the scenes. And here we see that providence operates when the circumstances look irreversible. God may be visibly God may not be visibly mentioned in every moment, but he is actively moving in every detail. Trust his timing, trust his reversals, trust that he can turn opposition into opportunity. The same God who protected his people during the reign of King Ahasuerus is still working today to accomplish his purpose. Stand firm, walk in courage, and remember, he is never absent from your story. Thank you so much for listening to me talk about the story of the book of Esther. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you stay tuned for more Marilyn Hickey AIs in the possible future. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It would really help me to spread the gospel even further. And I appreciate all that you've done so far. So thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye bye.